welcome to Beats of Learning episode 3. We are Joscha and me, Lara, and we're going to talk today about two formats which we both tried to implement in our university and tested in different courses and we want to talk about them today. We're starting with a short introduction. My name is Lara. I'm a student at the Film University. I study film and TV production in my bachelor's degree. I'm in the second year right now. I've been with WeLearn for a year now, and close to Stephan, I tried to find ways to improve interculturality on our university campus. And one of the formats I worked with was an improvisation class trying to tackle discrimination. And now to Joscha, what about you?
Hi, I'm Joscha. I'm doing my master's degree at the Film University in film and television production as well. I'm actually in my 4th year. Before that, I studied a bachelor in film science and anthropology. So the course or the workshop that I did for the WeLearn project had to do with this, a little bit with the region and with the neighbors. I live in Berlin and I study in Potsdam, for example.
Very nice. Thank you, Joscha. Today we will start with your format, and I'm eager to learn more about how your workshop went on how to be a proper Berliner, or also on how to be Italian. What is it about? What did you do? How did it go? Let me know everything. I'm eager to hear.
So, of course, how to be a proper Berliner. I believe a lot of people that would get asked on the street could say there is no one way, and this is true for being an Italian as well. I think as for every nation it is. So of course this is kind of a joke. So I thought, okay, how to be an Italian? You don't have to eat spaghetti. If you are gluten intolerant, that's a problem, right? So you won't be an Italian, or you won't be a German because of eating currywurst, or a Berliner, of course. And then what interests me, or has been interesting me for a lot of time, is exactly the region that we live in, how we all live in this kind of bubble that is Berlin. And then we have this very big country around that has a lot of like countryside, that is Brandenburg, and now the capital of that province, of the Bundesland, right, is where we study. So we have a lot of connections with this. So this is one part what the workshop is about.
Okay, so it's like you're giving a short introduction into what is the feeling of home, what is your origin, how do you feel about your origin, what connects oneself to a place called home, or maybe to places that aren't home, right?
Okay, so yeah, very much. So we have a lot of movement. We've seen this in the WeLearn project. We know how Erasmus Plus is a big form of traveling, of people moving. For example, we now have guest students from Ukraine. and among the people who were in the workshop, we had someone from Ukraine, someone from different countries. You are from Austria, and I'm not from the region at all, as well, right? So in the first part of our workshop, it was about where we come from and what we feel about this, right?
Okay.
So we have different ideas of how to be a Berliner, as I said before, and as well of how our home is like. And of course, how this works is through images and senses. So images is like a visual thing, right? So on the other hand, we use the term image for this narrative or this thing in our head where not only visuals but all aspects of our senses come together. So I think we called it narratives. This has a lot to do with media. So this is where I think we, as the film theory, the film university, and especially the course, the class that I taught, like that I was part of. It was part of media theory. So this is where it kind of connects.
Okay, so you did this workshop with the class. That's like it was part of a seminar, and you established everyone's feeling with home or their origin. And what happens after that?
So first of all, this feeling of origin and belonging and home we did through like a round of looking for pictures and adjectives and sounds terms and associations that we have from home, from our home, and then we talked about it, right?
Okay.
And afterwards, we did that for Berlin, right? So we saw how everyone came from a different place, and now we are more connected in the region because, of course, we share very similar ideas, and on top of that, one could see how people from Berlin. We had people who, of course, are from Berlin in the class, and then people who've been here for a couple of years or who have been here for a couple of months only, right? How they're feeling of how to be a Berliner, how to be a proper person from the region or in the region, behaves, and how it feels to be here. And well, between those two parts, we did a mapping as well, right? So we had a big map, and we put arrows to see how everything comes together in like our region, which is our home now, I think. And then we could also see like basically the arrows were all over the place. So there's not many.
Sorry, what are the errors about? I didn't get it fully yet.
Okay, of course. So we have an error coming from Mariupol in Ukraine to Kiev, to I think the United States, and then to Berlin, because one girl moved a lot in the last couple of years, and I think she is originally from Mariupol. Then we have me, for example, and I grew up in North Rhine-Westphalia, right? So I moved a little bit there, and then we have people who came from the US as well. So we had a lot of arrows, and that like it was kind of nice to see that everything pointed at this one place, and also it's kind of like, do you put your arrow to Potsdam or Berlin, or like a little bit to the south, because there was someone who actually didn't live in either Berlin or Potsdam, but rather in a small town close to Berlin, but in Brandenburg.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And how did this exercise affect the students or impact the students? Did they get closer together? Did they find an understanding for everybody's origin, or where they come from? Like, what were the outcomes or the discussions after this?
Yes, I'm really sure that there was this shared narrative, or actually not the shared narrative, but hearing different narratives, people get a better understanding of each other. So you're in the second year of your bachelor's, yes. And I think they are in the first year of their bachelor's, but have been at university for some time already, right? So doing this course in the very beginning of one's bachelor, we found out could be a good thing for the future, to do this at the very start in a way, right? Because you'd connect people through their origin a lot. You can do that because people like to share, and people like to give their opinion on their hometown and about their narrative. And so through the kind of understanding, so we had some theoretical input as well, where it was a lot about actually this topic, like the origin, but also it's what the author calls sensory landscapes, in this case of home, actually. So you have a certain amount of senses that everyone mentions when talking about their own home, and understanding how this works as putting together your own image of your home and then of Berlin and the region. I think it connected everyone a lot. And then on top of this, I think it was a very emotional thing. Everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people wanted to, so there was no big pressure to share, but everyone, a lot of people wanted to, and everyone could say something. And it was very emotional in parts when people talked about their home, especially.
I believe you. I totally believe you. Very interesting, really. Did you come across any difficulties during the workshop?
So of course, yes, there is difficulties, especially when coping with emotional, with emotion, and so in the preparation, I think I thought about possible re-traumatizing situations. When people have trauma and that's connected to their home, for example. And it was important for me, actually, so I did this presentation. Of course, I mean, you don't have to do one, but I did one. So we had this to see, and on it I had written that it was like this kind of safe space, which often is just something you say, Behauptung, the English word, whatever.
It's okay, something you say.
Yes, so something that one says, and then I feel like everyone understood it though. So it's important to say it and to write it down and to have it as a common understanding that this is a space where we all share something that could be very emotional and private. And then of course nobody really has to share anything if they don't want to. This wasn't really a problem, but it was definitely like an issue. I think with the language barrier, we had some issues, and then with the time management as well. I mean, this could fit in 4 hours, 5 hours. We had like 3 hours, and especially like the theoretical input, I think, could have been a little bit more profound. I had 2 texts, and they weren't as easy to understand, and I had to kind of explain them because I didn't want them to read them, all of them, like the whole text. So yeah, that's something that makes sense, but also to have it like more private and to have this shared feeling. You don't really need the theoretical input anyway, right?
This is what I was going to ask, if you found it to be helpful for the students to talk about the theoretical approach, or maybe next time you will just start with the practical side of the workshop. Like, what is your approach for the next workshop?
So for the next workshop, I would definitely still include theoretical input. I would want it to be understood better, so that I would have to explain it better, like plainly. That's an option. And then I could have everyone read it, but then they might not do that. So I could put more citations. I could put more effort and more time into explaining the theoretical input, and then put it more to the beginning of the whole class, because that was really I think everyone found it interesting. It's not like they found it boring or anything. I don't know, in the end, maybe some wouldn't tell, but it did make sense to have it, because there's 2 concepts at least in it that make the whole class a little bit more profound. Everything connects a little bit better. No, that wasn't really bad. It was good. It was good to have it.
Okay, very nice. Will you try it out with the next first semester, maybe? Next year?
Yes, I would love to. I could also imagine writing it down so someone else could do it, if it's like a format that gets approved by like the others of the consortium, whatever. The method, I think, is good. Is definitely, one could do it even better, and then I think it could work. And if I have the chance to do it, I would definitely want to do it again, because in the end we had so much content that we created as well, with the conversations, of course, but then we did the mapping and we did all of that imaging, and we got a lot of material from it, which is private and everything, but it was very nice to have it, to see it,
to have it all together, to visualize it even.
Oh yes.
Really nice. Great. Joscha, sounds really, really good. Sounds like a good emotional workshop. I'm glad it worked out. I get it that it's sometimes hard to step into private zones with people you don't know in context of university. And I think as a workshop leader, I mean, as everyone, but it's important to stay sensitive with these kind of topics. And it sounds like it worked out well. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. Okay, talking about sensitive and private situations in university, I think we have a good introduction to talk about your workshop that you did, because you, as I understand, had some special situations and a setting where everything was private and where everyone was in equal in the workshop, coming from the group of students, and then we had some people who were actually teachers. So how was the group, and what was the setting?
Okay, so I did a workshop on anti-discrimination, I would say, but not discrimination in like the whole sense. It's rather about the delicate things in between, about the questions that are hard to handle. Like, do I ask this person about their about where they come from? Should I speak in English or in German or in their native language? Should I you know, respect, or how do I respect someone's culture properly without offending them and without knowing the culture? So we thought about these questions, and we know that in a university context, when many international students come together, at one point conflicts will arise, and we're trying to teach with this improvisation workshop how to handle those conflicts in a proper way. And but to identify them first, and to try to see where, like, to try to get an understanding of what is a problem and what isn't. We invited students that are not German natives, and we also invited 2 teachers. One of them was an acting teacher, and she sort of led the workshop, which was really helpful. So we had like 3 students and 2 teachers, and we had a regular warm-up, and we tried to get loose, to get into the acting mood, and we got to know each other a bit. Like, we didn't talk about our culture or anything like this, but it was more like a physical getting to know each other, really, how you warm up in the classical warm-up session when you do acting. And so we did this for, I don't know, 15 minutes. And then we got into the situations. And the idea was to talk about situations, and then that might be like difficult. And then try to discuss what could have been done differently in order to prevent this conflict. For instance, one of our first situations was that the 2 students, it was a class, and one student was answering a question to the teacher, and the other 2 students were laughing at her because her dialect is just impossible to understand. And the fun thing was that it wasn't about the accent. It was like 2 international students could not understand a German dialect. And then they made fun of her, and they told her, speak more clearly, and what is going on, and I can't understand you. And then we talked about how this could have been fixed, and how one can react in a respectful way. And then I have to say, it got also a bit emotional, but because in the discussion you get to know the people and what really upsets them and what really makes them mad and frustrates them. And then we actually got to share personal stories, and we figured, okay, we have to step out of this acting role now and talk about the real issue. And because we cannot play this, like, we cannot act this personal story, because it would be too close to home, too close to the heart of the people, and it would just get emotional, maybe even sort of messy and not productive anymore. So this is basically what we tried to do in this workshop.
So you say that you had this situation as the improv like for the beginning of the improv that you talked about, and then you started to act it, and then was it that you had like a cut, and then you said, okay, now we are reflecting about it. And also, as I understand it, this was one of several situations that you acted that was part of the workshop. So like, how long did the reflecting session go? Because I can understand that there's a lot to talk about, maybe.
Yes, definitely. The reflecting session took way longer than the acting itself. At one point, the acting was just done, or it even got too uncomfortable to act it out. So we stopped there, and like the acting teacher that was leading the workshop was like, okay, stop here, please. Now let's come back. Let's step out of the role and let's reflect now. Sometimes people also stood aside and watched what was happening and were commenting afterwards on what they saw and what they felt.
I think the goal, and as you said it before, anti-discrimination, but not in the classical sense. Do you think it worked in the first situation, and then maybe in the second situation, and how was it different?
I think it really depends on who you are as an individual, because for a person who has gone through this discrimination, who has been discriminated, there is not much to learn from, rather than sharing their experience, maybe being more understood, maybe trying to improve her surroundings or their surroundings for the future. For a person who has not been discriminated against before, I think there's a lot to learn, like really to learn, because you actually get into the space of being discriminated for the first time, not in a real way, but at least through the situations. So I think this workshop is about finding a way for people to learn and understand what's discriminating, and for the others maybe to have a safe space to share their experiences, to maybe find some emotional support. Interestingly, this was a situation we wrote down about religion, and
Yes.
how you try to implement people's religion into a very stressful film shoot. And
Yes.
interestingly, we didn't do that.
Okay.
We didn't. We wrote some situations down, and we did maybe two of them. And then we figured, okay, here's some other personal experience we want to try to act out. And what we also discovered was that after playing two situations in a row where, you know, I have maybe been the bully and also the person who has been discriminated against. I figured, okay, I can only play so far. Like I can play somebody, like I can act as somebody who has a weird dialect and can be understood from other international students. Like I don't want to act as somebody who is from Syria and who has some special personal experience in discrimination. I don't want to act as someone with a different skin color. I don't want to act as a Muslim, because I feel like this would be disrespectful to the people who have really experienced this discrimination, and who have really gone through these difficult situations. And that was a really interesting learning, because I was not the only one who said, okay, honestly, I cannot act this out. I can't. It would feel not right.
So there's a certain kind of limitation for understanding the roles of different people in a discrimination scenario.
Yes, definitely.
Discriminating scenario. instead, I think you did another scene, like a scenario. You are in the final round of an entrance exam at the film university for the screenwriting course,
Yes.
right? Maybe talk about this, like a comment.
This was really nice. We did this, and it was really good for our university structure to try and act it out, because I once in this scenario I've been the teacher who asked the questions, and once I've been the student who gets asked, and you really feel how odd it is to ask someone if they know a certain author just based on their supposedly heritage or culture, without even, knowing if they actually lived outside of Germany or whatever. So
Yeah.
it was like a nice way to make also the teachers understood how they need to change their approach in order
Yes.
to how they need to change their approach when they talk to students who are supposedly not from Germany, just because they have a different name, or a different skin color, or some other features that make them not German, and how to be respectful in the way that they feel treated as an equal, and not being treated differently just because they have different skin color, different name. And yeah, this was, I think, these kind of scenarios are even more important for the teachers, and also in the future this workshop should be implemented in many ways, in my opinion. First with students, maybe at the start of university too, like your workshop, and also with the teachers and the students, in order to work on specific film university conflicts. And you can implement this in any university with their own unique intercultural conflicts, but with us it's especially the film sets and the film shoot and the preparation of these kind of things, and how to find narratives and how to find stories, and who is allowed is a difficult word, but who is allowed to talk about certain kind of things and who isn't. This was also something we got into during the reflection, and this should be taught more in our university. This should be talked about more too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this insight into it. I think you are right, probably. Seeing that understanding each other better in terms of how discrimination works should be a good thing in every university, but I don't really want to talk about everyone and everything here, but I know how, for me and for our university, of course, this could be a very good thing. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Joscha. You too. It was really nice talk we had. I know more now about your workshop. I also reflected a bit on mine. And yeah, see you in the next episode, maybe.
Yeah. See you in episode 4.
Okay, see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Listen to the beats of learning.